Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Madals, and this is the Plantonics Gaming UK Open. We're in the finals. It's a best of 5, and it's map number 2. Spawning on Polar Nights in the top position, we've got the pink Zerg player who represents Vega Squadron. He's 1-0 up. It's JonnyREcco. And his opponent, down to the south, the yellow Terran, Nox. The winner of this series walks away with a Gamecom Commander headset, which is worth around 250 Great British pounds. Second place still gets a prize though, a Gamecom 780 headset, both of which are great headsets. I actually use a Commander to cast and just when I'm gaming anyway. But it looks like Nox wants this game to be quick as he's going for an 11-11 proxy 2 racks. This is going to be some cool times. It was actually the build that Daishi used in WCS yesterday in order to beat Snoot on this exact map. JonnyREcco, however, though, is going to be scouting the right way. So many Zerg players scout down here because it's such a common proxy location. Any Terran players watching who like a little bit of racks, here. This is where you build them. Build your 2 racks there, they will basically never get scouted. It's such a good position to put them in. So Rico, going to identify this so incredibly early. This is pretty much the earliest he could ever hope to see it. It really is, and this should give him ample time to get up a good defense. He starts up a pool very nice and early. Was going to go for gas, cancels it now, realizes, hang on, okay, don't want to be getting gas here. Should be ready to pull drones really early on. And this is by no means an easy win, or an easy defense. Anyway, it's still very hard to do, even with this exceptionally early scout. Has to pull the drones fast to prevent this bunker coming down. Once the bunker is stopped, it does get a little bit easier. Just prioritizing the Marine is actually a really good choice. More SCVs being pulled, so Nox going pretty aggressive with this now. The drones fighting the Marine back. If you kill the Marines and keep their numbers low, it's a lot easier to deal with this. The drones have to be backed away though. SCV's being pulled across from the side. The bunker's still not completed, taking more damage. The SCV trying to come back through. Does go to start building the other side. Once you take down that SCV, it's pretty much easy to stop this now. As long as that bunker doesn't finish, you're good. The bunker's already going to finish though, because there's so many SCVs pulled. So that makes it a bit more challenging, but spines can now be constructed. There's a decent number of lings, but you cannot engage the bunker without spines. It is just pretty much suicide. You can start killing some more SCVs off. You can try and stop the second bunker. Killing off the SCVs prevents the repair. Queens coming through, drones coming from the back as well. Those drones just coming back in to deal with this. There's not too many Marines as of yet. The SCVs coming to actually fight. That's an interesting decision because they can get surrounded pretty easily. Only 1 SCV now remains. The hatchery at half health, but the 2 spines nearly done. They need to be moved in position with the queens, with the lings all together to try and confront these bunkers. The hatch getting pretty low now. Ideally it needs to be kept up. Those spines moving through. In poking range now. The hatch is still... Oh, it may not fall. It could get focused. It's very low, but the bunker is not focusing down at the moment. Focusing instead on the lings and the queens. That may be a mistake. The hatch so low it could have got focused. Doesn't go down. And as such, Rico now gets away with this with minimal losses. The hatch staying up really does make the difference to this being a game that actually Nox could recover. And a game that Rico is now at a huge advantage in. If that hatch had fallen, suddenly Rico can't just win the game. Or can't just lose the game. Because if that hatch goes down, Nox can actually recover. He can pull back the 2 barracks. He can pump out a decent number of stuff and expand and still be economically alright. Even after the SCV pull, believe it or not. But because the hatch stays up, the production is still there for Rico. The base is still there for Rico. The income is still there for Rico. And that's what he needs. The supply depot doesn't go down. Oh no, that's disastrous. The supply depot being up allows these Zerglings in, and without many Marines there, they can just keep kiting around, preventing mining time from Nox, preventing him from being able to really do much to contend with this. Another barracks is only just completed. SCVs are going to start dying. Marine count still very low. A couple more SCVs still getting taken out. Rico behind this, just happily droning up as much as he can. knows that he's in a good spot, will now be forced to retreat back, knows that he can't break this supply depot wall off, especially now there's more marine production coming through. But importantly, he's got a gas now. He's up by 9 workers, and he can deny his opponent's natural base for a long time. The other thing to be careful about is the big marine push off the back of this. You need to make sure that you're still keeping up your tech as normal. Another good move to make here as well is to consider getting additional queens down more than you normally would in order to transfuse this natural base, because it's incredibly low and you want to make sure that it doesn't fall at any point. Natural now being taken by Nox. He's still in this game, just very much on the back foot. But it's not unachievable. If REcco loses his hatch or makes some critical mistakes, Nox can still turn this around. But REcco, he's pumping out a lot of lings. He knows there's a decent number of marines on the field, but these marines won't have stim, they won't have combat shield, and more importantly, they're not going to have medevac support for what seems like an eternity. That means that the lings alone can actually do a good job against them, even before you start getting banelings. Third base, if that gets up, puts JonnyREcco still in a good spot. But if he crushes these marines, which is what he's going to be aiming to do, he goes from a good spot to an amazing spot. And I'm glad to see Nox pulling back. He sees that third's coming, he saw the spine crawler there, and just thought, you know what, I can't do this. And it's a good decision. Knowing when to retreat and when not to take the fight is just as important as knowing when to do it. Because if he got in, this number of lings would have just crushed the marines, and suddenly there'd be nothing to defend his natural with. But by waiting, it means REcco's already had to produce 20 Zerglings, going up to 30 now. And that's not drones. Admittedly, REcco though is going to be trying to end this game shortly. He's getting down the baneling nest, and he's got such high ling production, he's going to look to force a win. Doesn't want to give his opponent a chance to level out this game. Doesn't want a chance for stim to come through. Should be holding the watchtower though. Would be good to know that that was there. Is holding the one on the left, sees this move out of units. He's got 2 choices now. Flank or counterattack. Looks like he's going to be going for the flank decision at the moment. There's a lot of marines there though. The counterattack may have been more achievable. Baneling nest though is now finished. But without baneling speed, the engagement pretty much has to go down on creep. Unless it's aggressive. More lings coming through. 1-1 upgrades also on the way for REcco. He's just checking around to make sure that there's no hidden bases or anything like that that could be messing up his read of the game and what his opponent could have at this time. Stim, still 40 seconds away from completion. And ideally REcco doesn't want to engage against an army with stim. But he's still playing relatively defensive. Getting down a few more drones though. He's up to 53 workers compared to the 37 SCVs. Scouts in now, sees that the third CC's on its way through, and sees that there's a good number of marauders in the mix as well. Nox desperately needs these marauders, specifically to soak up baneling hits. That's their primary role in this composition, is to make sure the banelings don't just wreck the marines. Spy now moving forward. In a bit of a vulnerable spot actually, gonna get sniped down immediately. Lings can go for the wraparound. If the banelings connect, it'd be huge, but the marauders serving their purpose, soaking up some of those hits early on. And now Nox can continue forward. Clears out some of the creep spread. 1 creep tumor still staying up. A stim was used, really weakening this infantry. In come the banelings now, but they don't even need to get involved. That stim was massive. Takes out such a hit of that infantry's HP. And Nox now loses the vast majority of his army. JonnyREcco in a position where a counterattack could be a very fluid response. But he's playing it safe, not rushing into any decision, waiting to see what his opponent does. But I definitely expect REcco to try and prevent this third from being taken. He doesn't want to have to contend with that. It's not something that he needs to contend with either. Handful of marines trying to come through here, but this is a massive flood of lings. Catch a lot of this army out of position, and because it's spread, the lings get a much higher surface area. Demolish that infantry. Nox is a long way down. 1 baneling wandering up. A lot more morphing in. Those 17 more banelings on their way through. And this is going to be an almighty explosion when it hits. There's no Widow Mines, there's no tanks, there's no splash to deal with those banelings. JonnyREcco going to be trying to crush through and annihilate that natural base. He's preparing for the grand total of banelings up at 25 at only a very early point in this game, comparatively. Maulings coming through. They are needed to support the banelings as they come. Forward through the marine goes. The big baneling hit's already on their way. The mule's coming down, but it's not going to be enough. GG is called, and JonnyREcco takes an early 2-0 lead.